All right, I think we're going live here. We may be getting close to being live. Setting up for your YouTube live, done. Redirecting YouTube, and I think we are now live. Although
Woohoo!
I don't see my husband though. Where are you at, Randall?
I'm my. Well, maybe you have to set the view differently inside of here.
Huh, that's very weird. I don't think so. Oh, why would we have to set that different? View? No, I mean on YouTube. Wait, hold on.
That's fine.
Everybody, hold on. I'm trying to find this live on YouTube. Okay, no views. Stacy Lynn Zoom meeting.
Inside of here.
Huh, that's very weird. I don't think so. Okay, well, I guess it's gonna flip between us. I don't, oh wait, maybe if I do gallery? Wait, hold on. Trying to find this live on YouTube. Okay. All right, well, here we are. We're live on YouTube. We used to do this differently, and I just changed it to gallery on here, so it might take a second. Are you watching YouTube to see if it?
I'm
Okay,
not
now we're both on YouTube. Okay, now we are both there. So now you can see
there.
both of us. Okay,
Hey,
all right. So there you go. Okay, so that's good. I'm gonna go ahead and put here. Yeah, let's try to put this. I don't know. Anyway, well, hello, people. So Randall and I, we decided we're gonna do this once a week, maybe, potentially. And I thought that we would go ahead and start this week with a short worship song that we created using Suno AI, which is actually very cool. We've been studying Psalm 119 for over 5 years. And this song is actually one of those songs that comes from Psalm 119. So we'll just play this and then we will hopefully go ahead and have people here that can say hi. And I do see Tracy, our friend. There you are. We're going to play this song and then we'll come back and we're going to share some thoughts about something that I did this week. So here we go.
I shall delight in your commandments, which I love.
Make this bigger, huh?
And I shall lift up my hands to your commandments, which I love. And I will meditate on your statutes. Oh, how I love your law. It is my meditation all the day. I hate those who are double-minded, but I love your law. You have removed all the wicked of the earth like dross. Therefore, I love your testimonies. I shall delight in your commandments, which I love. And I shall lift up my hands to your commandments, which I love, which I love. And I will meditate on your statutes. Therefore, I love your commandments above gold, yes, above fine gold. Consider how I love your precepts. Revive me, O Lord, according to your loving kindness. I hate and despise falsehood, but I love your law. I shall delight in your commandments, which I love. And I shall lift up my hands to your commandments, which I love, which I love. And I will meditate on your statutes, which I love. Oh, which I love. You're the God I love. Yes, you are, I love.
there you go. So that is there you go. Make sure it's working right. And our friend Tracy in Northern California has tuned in to say hi to us. So hi Trace, love you. Hope you had a good Valentine's Day. We did. And in fact, should we talk about our Valentine's Day? We'll do that, and then we'll go ahead. We'll get to our topic at hand. First of all, I have to say that I have the best husband on the planet.
Oh,
It's true. I mean, anybody that knows you and me knows that I adore you. Just saying.
mutual.
Yeah. So, Randall, so here's the long story short. The long story short is that I have a 20-year-old vehicle and the battery had been dying a lot on it. And didn't matter. The trickle charger didn't hold the charge. And Randall heroically fought to change that battery in my car because I have a Chrysler convertible where they put the battery under the left wheel, right?
Well, yeah, it's kind of like behind the headlight, kind of behind the front bumper and in front of the left wheel. So you've got to remove the driver's side wheel and the wheel well panel to get to the battery.
Yeah. So we had planned earlier this week. This is what we were going to do on Valentine's Day,
Yeah.
just because of
Well,
our
just in the
schedule.
weekend, just we'll have a little
Yeah.
more time
Because
to
I
be able
got
to.
stranded at pickleball Monday.
Mm,
Yeah. But I have a nice neighbor who came and jumped me. So, but
jump the
anyway,
car. Come on.
he jumped. Yeah, he jumped the car.
You
Yeah, I actually didn't
jump
even
start.
want him to. I just wanted him to pick me up and have you come. But
Mm,
yeah, he jumped the car. We put my car, which is 20 years old, on a trickle
mm,
charger, and it literally would not start. It was
mm,
charging the whole week. So, but
mm.
anyway, so Randall takes he takes the hubcap off the wheel and he's trying to get the lug nuts off. You poor thing.
Yeah, just using the wrench that comes with the car. That's the multi-tool. It's a tool to pry the hubcap. Plus, it's got a little swing out hex kind of wrench to, well, which should be sufficient. Should provide enough leverage if they're on there with the sufficient amount of torque with which to fasten a wheel to the hub. But I think the last person to put the wheel on using a pneumatic wrench had the torque value settled way too high. And
Yeah.
these lug nuts are on there seriously tight.
Yeah, here, I'll show you. Let's see if you can see the car here. You see that little thing there? That's the little thing he was trying to.
No, that was the jack handle to jack up the
Oh,
car.
the jack. Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah. Well, anyway, after having to go buy a lug wrench, one of those four ones,
yeah.
Randall,
Four-way lug wrench. Yeah, yeah. To get leverage in, two directions is much
you
more
should
efficient.
you should have saw him, 61-year-old,
Hmm,
jumping up and down, turning that thing. And he did it. I was so proud. I clapped. I was so happy.
hmm,
Yeah, and then after that, we went up, we bought the new battery, and Randall put it back in, and the car started. We still haven't started it today, so I'm assuming the car will start, but yeah, very, very interesting Valentine's Day. And then we had a
hmm,
good Mexican dinner at a new
hmm.
restaurant. We it's been new in our town for a while, and I had a very good burrito, but man, I tell you, it did not like me, people. Have you ever eaten anything that's just giving you royal gas? I mean, just
TMI.
seriously. Hey, I'm just saying. Good thing I love this guy and he loves me. Well, and that kind of goes into kind of what we do here. This is a coaching channel. We talk about relationships and we're talking about being real. And I mean, honestly, let's just be real. When you've been married a long time, girls can pass gas for their husband.
Mm,
Just
yeah.
saying, it took me years though to feel very comfortable. And if yeah, yeah, see, there's people who can relate.
Uh,
All right. Well, anyway, so this week, though, aside from me you know, enjoying some Mexican food, which I hadn't had in a long time. Um, I did a video this week that we did push it out so more people could see it because church is a big, huge issue with a lot of people. And you and me have been going to church together for 36 years,
Something. Yeah.
close to that. I mean, we met almost
Yeah. Yeah.
36 years
Well,
ago.
but then of
You can knock
course
it down.
this past year we've not been in a traditional building kind of church. So I guess only 35 years.
Right. Okay. So 35 years we've been gone to what I refer to as the traditional state-run church.
34 because yeah, we met in 1990 and so 2005, which just ended, we were not in the traditional
1990 sounds like so long ago.
yeah, about 36 years ago.
Okay, anyway, so I did this video basically talking about why you cannot make why it's difficult to make
Difficult.
friends in the church. And the irony is that you and I became friends in the church,
Right.
right? But honestly,
In a different era and in a different
I'm
environment, a different dynamic. That's the word I'm looking for than you typically find in a modern church. And we can get into that.
okay, well, why don't we get into it? I mean, what I will say is all of you out there who commented on that video, thank you for doing that because you validated what I took the time to think through and then share because there's so many things that go on in our lives that are kind of set up structurally. We're not even aware that that's what they are. But really, church is set up as a club. It's set up as a social place to go and do activities, kind of like your senior center, right? You go there, you play games or whatever, and then that's it. Except the difference between the senior center and the church is that people who go into like a senior center, and the reason I'm using this, you guys, is because most of my audience on here is over 55. Although you young people, you pay attention because just saying you can learn from us older people, and I'm still young compared to most of my friends, but at a senior center, there is no hierarchy or hierarchy.
Hierarchy.
Hi,
Yes.
how do I say I got corrected?
Hierarchy.
Hierarchy. That
And I
just sounds like
wasn't the one to correct her either.
I know, but he was so happy that I was correct.
Well, no, I was, truth be told, as I was sharing with Stacy Lynn this morning, when I first saw the comment about how to pronounce hierarchy, I thought, I got a little defensive. It's like, gosh, what a nitpicker. But then after watching the video and how many times it was said, it's like, okay, I'll I'll give this commenter some grace because yeah. Anyway.
Yeah, okay, so many years ago I said rune,
Mhm.
Roon, rune,
Uh,
right? But it's actually ruin.
depends on where you're from.
I'm from New York, upstate originally, and I think that maybe why I say hierarchy the way I say it is because that's what I've always heard. I don't think
Uh,
I've ever heard hierarchy before. That just sounds, but but thank you for correcting me. I'm gonna do my best now because it will annoy me, and then he will annoy me, and make sure that I say it correctly, which, is what it is. But anyway, so in the church, though, there is a hierarchy. So I actually basically have to say two words when it's one. So hierarchy,
say
right?
organization levels or levels of organization.
Okay. I like the word hierarchy. Hierarchy. Anyway,
Uh,
anyway, um, and the church that you and I met in, this was the interesting thing about you and me meeting in this church. And actually, technically, you and me is incorrect too. That's incorrect grammar. And here's why. I'll tell you why. And people do this all the time. And just because I'm married to the English Nazi over here, um, he is the saddle, the self-appointed defender of the English
that's
language.
yeah.
Yeah.
That
Um,
sounds
but here's the thing. You and me met. That's incorrect. And I'll tell you why. Because you cannot start a sentence correctly. If it was correct, okay, here's you met me. Me met me. Me met you. That doesn't sound right. So you and me met doesn't that is not right. So it's you and I met. So you and I met. So
Yeah.
if you can't say that sentence without the other one, you did it wrong. People say this all the time wrong. It drives me crazy. You see very famous people saying they won't say you and I, they'll say you and me, or they'll say you and me when it should be you and I.
Or vice versa.
It drives me
Uh,
crazy.
you can talk to Stacy and you can talk to Stacy and I later.
No, Stacy and me.
Right.
Like you could talk to me.
Right. You would never say you can
Right.
talk to I later. It's like, what? What are you
Yeah.
saying? You can talk
No.
to me later. So
Right.
I is subject, me is predicate. So yeah, just
Right. Anyway. So when we met in the church that we met in, believe it or not, I didn't lose track. I thought I did almost. It was,
nailed it.
thank you. Everybody's like, what? No. But when we met, I didn't actually go to the church. I actually didn't go to the church we met in. I
Right.
showed up and you invited me to a volleyball game,
Mhm.
and I didn't even know what the heck that was. And then I started going to the singles group. I didn't even really get involved in the actual church that you were a part of. So the fact that there was, um, a singles group I wanted to be a part of, that's important because
Mhm.
that was the structure. It was like, and I didn't go there to meet you to get married. Actually, I ended up at the church just because I made a wrong turn on my way to therapy.
Mm.
Or was it a right turn, people? That's the question.
Mm. Yeah. And that was one of the comments on your video about someone saying they met in a singles group in the 90s as
That was in the 90s.
as we did too, because it was 1990 when you
Yeah.
came. Yeah. Um, so yeah, a different dynamic. The particular singles group that we met in, uh, I was involved in, wasn't the typical meat market kind of thing. Go to meet your future spouse. The whole premise of the group was singles do not have family responsibilities. They're a place where, they're not raising children, that kind of thing. Um, and you know, the dynamic of marriage, the First Corinthians chapter 7 dynamic, you know, uh, being primarily concerned with how you might, please your spouse. That's your primary focus in terms of relationship. The the very purpose of the singles group was, well, because singles are at this place in their life without family responsibilities, that they were free to minister, not serve within the church, but to serve outside, evangelism, to be the church outside of the four walls. And we did things in ministry, we did things socially together, but it was all just sort of very organic. Yes, things were planned, but um, it wasn't, let's make this happen. Let's make social things happen so we can, hook people up, whatever. It's like, okay, hey, we're all in the same boat. We've got this freedom as singles. Let's start doing stuff. Let's start doing genuine Christian stuff. Um, let's let's do some ministry together and make sure that um, we have genuine Christian fellowship together, shared meals, that kind of thing. It was kind of like a little bit like a house church in and of itself. In fact, when it started, wasn't even meeting on the church campus.
Okay.
It was in a rented building somewhere, and if I were to, and I'm sure many of the people would agree with me because I'm still in touch with a lot of people from that group.
Yeah.
I'm sure they would agree that things kind of went downhill when it started to meet within the church proper. When it was meeting outside the church, I think a lot more ministry was happening then. It just was, I think it was a lot more accessible, uh, both to curious, seekers who were coming to look at things, but also for Christians perhaps who had been maybe had some church hurt or whatever. It wasn't the hierarchy of the church. It was, hey, here are some single people that are meeting outside of the church in this building. And yeah, the first meetings were at a pizza place on on a Sunday
Mhm.
morning. There may be, maybe 20 people shared it at 40, and then it grew, went to this other rented building, this community building. And there were, let's see, I had 20 tables. I was one of the 20. And there were like maybe 15 people. There were like 300 people
Wow.
in this singles group.
And I walked
And
in and found you.
then, but later on, with a change of leadership, it was decided to bring the group and have meet in the church so we could have the whole family experience. But I think once that happened, that dynamic, that sort of organic um, element dynamic, kind of, I wouldn't say died, but was
Well,
hindered a bit.
and you said something, and I'm trying to keep a watch on the time, so we got
Yeah.
about 15 minutes or so. Okay. So
Okay.
just kind of we're trying to keep this to a half hour or so, and I
Yeah.
lost track, but I know it. Yeah. Anyway, um, you mentioned church hurt, right?
Hmm.
And that is part of the reason I made the video is
Hmm.
because I know so many people and I've talked to so many people who've gone to church and then they get hurt in the church and then they leave the church and nobody ever finds out why they left the church. And there are a couple of reasons, I think. One reason is because sometimes they are hurt and something happened in leadership. Maybe they were abused. We've talked a lot about that on the channel. But sometimes you just outgrow a church because there's really no needs for you. There are no things for you to do. And I just want to read one comment here. I'm not going to bring it up on the screen, but I will read it. Justin or Just Kristen 8. This is what she wrote. She wrote, thanks. I homeschool and pour into my kids. I was told if you will serve, that is how you will make friends. Was so not true. It pulled time away from my family and I made zero friends. And there's 4 likes on that comment. And then V Beta said, we homeschool too and have a local Christian homeschool group. If it weren't for that, I don't think I'd have any meaningful relationships outside of my family. And then just Prince Kristen responded to that and said, yes, we just moved and I'm trying to find my community here. People keep telling me to go to church and try to connect. I'm in a mega church here. Going to a different church is not an option. So maybe I'll try pickleball or a gym. Now, I have to make a caveat about the pickleball comment because, um, I told you guys during my thing. And really, where is it? Oh, there it is. I put my thingy on it. I told you in my thing that I wrote this book, Pickleball Faith, Inspiration on and off the court, like 4 years ago in January. It's been bestseller, people. It's the first pickleball book on faith, and people have actually stolen my title and written their own books. But what I will tell you is I've made some friends in pickleball, some real friends, I believe. But I will also say with this caveat, when I haven't made it to pickleball, I don't necessarily get a lot of people asking me why, unless they're following me on my Facebook page and they'll say, hey, where have you been? But people don't necessarily call me up and say, hey, where are you at? So there's still that type of thing where you have to be intentional in your relationships, but at least there isn't a hierarchy in pickleball set up the way that there is in the church. So, what do you think about the homeschooling comments though that these ladies made?
Oh, absolutely. In a homeschooling environment, that's again, that sort of level playing field where,
Right.
hey, our children need to be schooled, and so we come in here, hey, and these co-ops that happen. I haven't been part of one because we don't have children, but I understand the dynamic that maybe someone has this subject expertise, someone has that subject expertise, whatever. And it's, hey, let's all come together as part of this body that's the homeschool community, this co-op, and get some things done. It's focused on meeting the needs of the children. Uh, and you juxtapose that against like a school, a formal school, whether it be a private school or a public school. There's a hierarchy there of principal and
You said it wrong.
okay. Anyway, there's a
I should
hierarchy
do it.
there.
There you go.
The hierarchy there of there's an organization. There are levels of organization
Yes.
that you know, there are things to do to keep the school alive and the school itself kind of thing. And I think that's what happens, same with a church. Uh, yes, ministry is part of it, but there seems to be this overarching sort of preoccupation with keeping the church building, the church structure, its income, the church building itself, and all these things to keep this entity apart from the people, just the construct of it, because there is a building that
Right.
needs upkeep, and then there with that, then there becomes assignments to make sure there is income for that. And as people coming in, there are this ministry director, that director, and sub directors, and it gets really big. And it's it doesn't have to be necessarily intentional. Hey, we're going to go build this structure. It's just something I think that happens in the traditional church as it's come to us through the centuries. Is now this thing where it's a structure that we all support and plug into to keep this structure alive and healthy. It's supporting the structure, and so yeah, this person was told, hey, if you serve here, then that's where you meet people. But it wasn't serving the children there. I don't so much. That's part of it, but so much of it is serving the organization.
And I will tell you, when I served in the children's ministry during Awana, I didn't have anybody who worked in children's ministry try to befriend me in any way. I went in, I did the work. The kids loved me because kids love me. Why? I don't know. Probably because I'm fun.
Lovable.
I am lovable. And Tracy said, "You got lucky meeting me, just so you know."
Mhm.
And then she
Mhm.
said, "Actually, you both got lucky." I think
Mhm.
I can't read the whole comment because of the
Mhm.
thingy there, but anyway, I point that out because I was disappointed that most of the people in the children's ministry, none of them showed any interest in getting to know you and me as a couple or really as individuals in this last church that we went in. And, maybe that was because we're a lot older than the kids that we were serving, but the reality is that we were just there to serve and that was it. We left and that was it. And that's
Yeah.
sad. It's annoying
Mhm.
actually. Um, now one other uh, go ahead.
I'm going to say, go look it up. I'm not going to repeat it here, but there's this kind of modern day parable that talks about these people who it's an allegory of people whose charge it was to save people drowning, whatever, and how they formed this club and then to do that, and then they installed officers and stuff like that, and basically became preoccupied with
I know.
with the organization, with the club, and forgot about saving the drowning people. And it's such a poignant picture of the modern day church where it's not, for some it's intentional, but I think it's become just as unintentional, where it's about supporting the structure and the organization instead of doing the stuff, instead of making disciples.
I believe it. Okay, so one other thing I want to bring up, and gosh, I just all of a sudden feel like I got hit with a sinus thing. So
Mm,
my whole face is hurting at the moment. But one of the other things I mentioned in there was that often when people go into a church, they are targeted, and I use the word targeted, let's just say they're sought out. How about we say it that way? And people want to know who they are, what do you do for work? And then they send people to befriend you who are in leadership. And I said in my video, it's so that they can find out what you do, how much money you make, how to get you involved, basically. But it's a way to find out if you're going to give or not. Because here's the sad reality, and I didn't mention this, and these numbers are probably outdated anyway. But the sad reality is probably under 10% of people who attend a church regularly give. That's it. So most people don't give when they go to the church. Um, and you were an elder in at least one of the churches we went to.
yeah.
What's one of the things that you discovered as an elder that maybe somebody who isn't married, who doesn't have a husband, wouldn't find out?
Oh, well,
I didn't ask this ahead of time, by the way. He does, these are all like this is a hardball question, people.
yeah, well, I would say the thing that stuck out to me most was, again, in retrospect, it's about the organization and how do we keep this organization healthy? Not the people within it, but the organization. Well, this is happening here. What do we do to kind of protect and preserve the organization? Um, and more
Yeah,
often than not, when an issue would come up, I would be the one to bring scripture into it.
I knew you were
Uh,
going to say that.
they, the others would try to approach it from some, I don't want to say humanistic, but just kind of like just problem solving, kind of discuss it, and I would be the one, well, the scripture says this. Why don't we handle this biblically? This is what the Bible says. This is what's in scripture. It says here in the gospel, it says here in this epistle. And I often felt that I was kind of the lone whatever, the voice crying in the wilderness, the one that was trying to bring it back to scripture and dealing with issues and relationships and conflicts and things within the body.
Yeah, which actually goes to one of the other comments here. Let me see here. I wanted to pull this one up. I'm scrolling through to find it. Beth wrote, um, put these on so I can read it better. I can see it. Okay. Beth wrote in Ephesians 4,
Mhm.
there's a hierarchy of apostles, prophets, evangelists, teachers, and pastors to equip the saints for the work of service. I'm not sure the purpose of the church exists to make friends, although that can happen, but rather disciples.
Amen.
Jesus picked 12 men that didn't know each other, but over time they learned to sacrificially love one another. The church is a family, not a peer group. This may help us in that we are called to love one another, lay our lives down for one another, and from these relationships, our relational needs get met. And then I want to also read Kristen's comment too. She wrote, there is very little one anothering in church. It is not on display, so no one sees it and learns from it. People do not go to church for others, they go to church for themselves. They go because it's tradition, or they think they have to go to please God or to get, quote, filled up for the week. Most people at church look bored, and the fact that they all immediately jump up to leave right after the service indicates they are glad it's over. And it's even harder if there is another service afterwards, so they need to be out so the next group of people can come in and find their seats. People don't want others to know if they're hurting, need prayer, have a Bible question, or a physical need,
Mm.
so no one gets the privilege of ministering to them or to use physical gifts or other means to help. How do we know who has a need? And there's four question marks after that. So I will just respond to this first part about the Ephesians 4. The very first thing I thought of when I read that was the vineyard. You know, I thought of how when we attended the vineyard for probably, I don't know, 15 years at least between the two that we went to, they had the fivefold ministry, and that's basically what that passage is talking about. Um, but I think that there's been a lot of abuse with some of these things too, which a lot of people talk about. Um, but what do you think? What do you think of those comments?
Well, I agree with those comments, and again, it was for the equipping of the saints. That's why those positions are in the body, for the equipping of the
Thanks.
saints.
Right.
And so what kind of a good test is, can that equipping the saints, can that take place outside of this structure, whatever name it goes by? And if it's and kind of the response is, well, no, you can't do that here. It's got to be done in this structure. And are these ministries, are these offices, are they actually empowering, equipping the saints, making disciples, do the ministry out there? Or is it about bringing people in here to serve the organization? And and I think more often than not, like the person talked about serving in children's ministry,
Right.
it wasn't being in ministry to serve children, it was serving in the children's ministry.
Yeah.
Subtle distinction there, but yeah, I would look at that. Is it really about making disciples? Is a church service about servicing the spiritual needs of people, or is it about serving the organization and empowering the organization to do its keep doing its things, keep maintaining its hierarchy, maintaining this department, make sure that a department has a budget to do what they need to do, and it turns into a business, and a business that makes sense because a business has to survive. A business is there to make a profit and survive to the next thing, to have employees, but the church with its apostles of long ago, evangelists, stuff like that, are um are there to make this to equip the saints for the work of the ministry, not to equip the saints to make the ministry or prop up the ministry or serve the ministry. The ministry's there is to serve and not to be served.
And it's all so subtle, people.
It is. It
It's
is.
extremely subtle, and it's so, so subtle that nobody, like I said, I was thinking through this week, and I was like, man, no wonder, right? Okay. So last point we want to make, by the way, I just want to say I put the link you gave me into the chat under
Okay.
Resilient Spirit Songs, which by the way, that is another YouTube channel uh that we played the song on. We're trying to build a music channel, but I'll put a link into that so you can subscribe if you want. But the last thing I ended the video with was the house church. And now here's the interesting thing. The book of Acts is all about house churches. And
Mhm.
actually, the book of Revelation, the churches that John saw the visions about, those were all house churches in the book of Revelation. Most people don't even think that.
Mhm.
And so we see the structure in the book of Acts about primarily in chapter 4, I think, is where it really lays out what they did, you know. And there has been a house church movement happening for 20, 30 years here in America. It just seems like there is a whole bunch of um, people now leaving because of the big mega church and all the scandals, and people aren't getting relationships. And even Julie Roys, who, many of you know, she's in a house church and with about, I don't know, 40 people or something. So did I have a question? No, I didn't. But but would you like to? I mean, we were actually in a house church before we moved here to Tennessee,
Mhm.
with some people there. And that was different.
Mhm.
And it is different. And you have to be careful even in house churches because, you got to make sure people are honest, that they're not just coming in to check things out or to kind of gaslight and mess with people. hopefully you have healthy, mature people who can, you know, show up, be responsible and be a part of the group and not kind of mess with people. But what do you think of the people moving out of the traditional church? I will just say this. I do think that a lot of people are moving out because I think the real church is going underground into house churches, at least in America. Bottom line.
Yeah, I'd agree. Yeah, I think that parable of the life-saving station is, yeah, I don't know who originally came up with it, but yeah, it's really spot on with the church. It's like not this conspiracy to do this. It's just something that's come about, and now I think people are like say, hey, we're way off the mark. It's been over the years, and now the traditional church of nowadays, the way they are, I don't think, yeah, Apostle John or Peter, any of them would recognize it as like, what is this? I mean, I think of Paul when even baptism, when he says, I thank God that I baptized none of you. Well, except for Stephanus and maybe, but anyway, maybe a few others I don't remember. But to him, it was so important that he wouldn't be recognized as somebody baptized because this division he was saying with the I'm of Paul, I'm of Apollos, I'm of it, and it's building these groups and factions and yeah, and organizations, and Paul wanted nothing to do with that. Uh, Not this inward look to, yeah, who are we? And, this is my identification, whatever. And just none of that.
Right.
Go into all the world and make disciples, the Lord said, not get in a holy huddle and build an organization.
Right. But then there would be people who would argue that needs have to be met.
Yeah,
But I will say
indeed.
they would, and this is, and we're gonna wrap this up. And hi
Yeah.
to anybody new who's watching. I just want to say that Randall and I love the church. We really love the church. We love it so much that we have spent our lives together. It's kind
The,
of like our
the,
vocation. It's
the
our
church
genuine.
made of living stones.
Right. It's our genuine calling, I think. I mean, I've spent my life sharing the gospel, writing about the gospel. You know, um, People who know me can't disassociate me from the gospel. When we did Bible News Radio, people literally voted that I would be thrown in jail for the gospel. And I actually was by YouTube. I mean, I was
Yeah.
I was banned.
YouTube jail, Facebook jail
I,
sometimes, but
yeah, but but my heart is really to make disciples, and that comes through teaching people how to study God's word for themselves. To
mhm.
quote the late Kay Arthur, the inductive Bible study method, it's one of the best methods out there. It's one of the things we do in the home church that we're in. When I coach people, I try my best to direct them back to Christ and help them learn how to have Christ-like thinking, because that transforming of the renewing of your mind, according to Romans 12:2, that is a continual thing. And I've seen God do great things in my life because of it. But the problem is a lot of people, they don't know how to study the Bible. They don't think that they can. You and me went on this kind of trek to memorize Psalm 119, which honestly changed my life. It really did. And I was inspired by a woman in her 70s to memorize that. Actually, Pam wasn't that old, but some of these other ladies, they've been memorizing scripture with the navigators forever. And the idea, and I actually heard John Lennox, the great apologist, say he was convicted by his mentor, the guy that discipled him, that the reason he read the Bible was so that he could do Bible studies and teach people it. And when he asked his mentor, "Well, why do you read it?" David Gooding, I think is his name. He said, "Because I want to know God better." In fact, I had a client just this week tell me, you know what, I need to read the Bible so I can get to know God better, because here's what happened. in the 80s or in the mid 80s and early 90s, the church got all psychologized, right? It became all about and how do I say this nicely? Um, how do I say this? Um, it came about like what does the Bible say about me? Who am I in Christ? Celebrate recovery and things like that. They whereas they're a great program, they're also a very self-person program and not very Christ-centered program in the sense of this is who Jesus is. Let's look at what he said, who he is, how we can learn to be more like him. It's no like they take psychological principles and they pull it out. And so people they get helped, but they're not discipled, in it. And that frustrates me because um I'm in Bible studies with women and it's like I've heard some of them recently say, I've never read the book of Revelation. I've never read the old. I actually was listening to a guy here on YouTube talking about the book of Job. And one of the things that he said was, he goes, nobody ever reads the Old Testament these days. The Old Testament is too hard for people. And I'm like, what? I spend more time in the Old Testament than I do the New Testament. But that's because I love the whole Bible and I understand how it fits. But most people don't. I know people who've been raised in the church. I'll say, have you ever read the whole Bible? No. What have you read? Have you ever read Proverbs? No, I've never read it. What?
Hmm.
You've never read the book of Proverbs? How can you not read the book of Proverbs? There's 31 chapters. You could read one a day. It's not that hard. Oh, yeah, it is. Well, how do you know? How do you know? Well, I've never tried. Well, then how do you know it's hard to understand? It's not hard to understand. But what has passed, and I'll shut up after this, but what basically has been so deceptive in our day is the use of apps like YouVersion. Hey, everybody, I'm going to make the YouVersion app the number one Bible app out there, but you know what that app has done? It has taught people to read a verse of the day, share it out, and that's it. Or let's follow the latest Christian celebrity and their little devotion and not get into the word. It's become completely a distraction. I uninstalled it because of it. I'm done. I could rant. I feel like I'm doing
Hmm.
Bible News Radio now. But it's just because I want people to know the Lord better. That's my problem.
Amen. Mm-hmm. Yep.
I'll give you the final word.
No, I'll leave that to the Lord. His word is eternal. Heaven and earth will pass away, but his words will never pass away. And so it will do us good to internalize them.
Okay. All right. Well, everybody, hopefully you like this. This is something new that we're doing. And if you have a topic you'd like Randall and I to discuss, or you'd
No.
like me to discuss, later by myself, then let us know in the comments. And then the next time we do this, which we're trying to do this once a week, we'll do a video and share our thoughts with you. But I hope that this has been a little bit informative, hopefully. And I hope you guys have a better day. So we'll see you next week. And now I gotta shut this off. I'm gonna shut this off, people. Okay, hit. No, wait, do I do that? I guess I'm gonna kick us out, just so you know.